Hi guys and welcome. Today I'm going to be working on another page in my journal. I'm making a paper doll themed journal. You would probably, in one of my last videos, you would have seen the cover focal point that I made. So I'm working on a double spread today. This is just a bit of a flip out. I'm going to leave that for the time being, but I want to work on this page and we're going to put some page tucks right down the side. We're going to do a bit of collaging with some labels that I've got printed and cut out, and a little bit of stamping as well. So just push that off to the side. So I've done a little bit of stamping initially with some distress ink, so some tea dye distress ink, and this is just a bit of a splatter stamp. It's a texture stamp from Darkroom Door. Absolutely love it, and I've just really done it quite faint. I just wanted to grunge it up a little bit. And then this one here, this one's actually called Marble, and it's a Kaiser Craft stamp, and I just want to get some antique lines in there, but I'm going to do that with the black archival, and then we'll distress some ink on it as well, just to give it a bit of an ancient look. Bit of a crackle effect. So I'm just working with some stamps today that, you know, I haven't necessarily worked with in a while, and I just want to get just some different effects going on. So you can see that just gives it a bit of an aged crackle look. You can turn the stamp from side to side. It doesn't have to be all the same way. So that's one side, and then when we distress or darken the page up a little bit, you'll see that it will all blend together. And some of these I'm not putting pressure on the whole stamp, just in places, just trying to get a little bit of pattern going through it. Nothing too uniform because we want it to look aged and vintage. Okay, so I'll pop that one off to the side. And then I want to put a little bit of stenciling on it as well. I'm just going to reach over. I might use the Brick Wall one, which is a Tim Holtz layering stencil. Absolutely love all his stencils. I'm going to use Walnut Stain, which is a Distress Oxide ink, and I'm going to use a makeup brush. I use these brushes for all my stenciling. They're just quick and easy, and you can get a light texture, which is what I'm going for here, or you can keep going over it and get it a little bit of a darker effect. But I'm not being too pedantic. You can just see how it's all starting to mold together. And I already know that I'm putting something down each side, so I'm not going to be too worried about my edges. A little bit hard with that center flip out there, but we'll make do. We can always put some book page or something down. You can see how quick and easy it is. So get your stencils out and have a play. I like these layering stencils. They're just a good size to work in, especially if you're working in an 8x5 or an A5 journal like this one. So your page is still light enough. You could even do a stamp off effect if you wanted that crackle lighter, and it's still light enough though to write on, so you don't want to waste any journaling space. So I'm just distressing around the edge just to give it some definition. If we get time today, we'll decorate this centerpiece too, just so it's not left while it's lonesome. Okay, lovely. So we're just going to park that for a minute. Now we're going to work on the tucks. So I've got a A5 bit of cardstock here. It's like a caramel color, and I think I might, you just decide how wide you want your tuck. So you want it wide enough so you can tuck something in there. You don't want it too wide where to pull something out. So if you went that to pull something out, it's going to interfere with the middle of the page. So I'm just going to get my guillotine and cut that. So we might go 2.5 inches. So I'm going to cut both of them. And you don't have to do both sides. I just decided to do like a double page. So we're going to have one that side, and you'll gauge the width of them. So you can see it's got enough room to tuck something in and hold it, but it's got enough room out here to actually pull it in and out. Now I'm just going to cut that down a little bit. And I'm only marking on one because they're going to be both the same, so I can cut the two together. It doesn't matter if they're slightly smaller, shorter than your page. It's better that than hanging out over the edge. Just like that. And then this one will go over this side. So I want to actually pair it up, even though we're going to collage over it. I want to pair it up with what I've done in the background there. So first of all, I'm going to distress. Even though we're going to collage over the top, we may decide when we're collaging to leave some background space. We won't really know until we start collaging, so I always like to prepare my backgrounds first. And hey, if we decide to cover it all up, then we cover it all up. It's only cost us a little bit of time. And sometimes you just got to play around too to get some different effects. So I haven't done any prototypes. This is creating live. So we're going with the flow. Now I want to do some stamping, the same as I've done on the background there. So I'm just going to pop that off to the side there and work off my craft mat so I don't get a double stamped image on the pages. I'm just trying to locate my crackle stamp. Oh, there it is, up with the ink pad. That makes sense, doesn't it? Okay, we might work on the other end of it this time. So if you don't have a crackle stamp or a marble stamp like this, then get a different type of background stamp. All we're doing is adding some texture to it rather than having a plain background. So it adds point of interest to your journals. If you've only got a stencil, then just use your stenciling. pop that one off to the side. And then we've got our brick wall stencil. Just beautiful, this caramel color cardstock. And then I'm just adding pieces here and there. You get a bit of a like a faded brick effect. And with my brush, so it's quite stark, and I said before we're going to do a little bit of inking on the background there, even though we've done our bricking, I just want to use the brush and just take away that starkness. The stenciling will still stay there because it's about layering. And worst case scenario, you get your stencil out and match it up and just make it a little bit darker. So you can see the difference. If I hold that up, you can see the difference between the two. And I'm just going over it just a couple of places, especially towards the edge there where I wasn't that dark before, but I just wanted to add some depth to it. So the rule of inking is put less on to start with, because you can always add more to it. Whereas if you go dark first, you can't lighten it. Unless you totally go over it with gesso or something like that and start again. All right. Lovely. So just going to move that to the side, and we're going to do some collage here. So we're going to do it with labels. So I've got my label ephemera holder book here. I'm just going to pull out some pieces, but I want to get a good variety of colors as well. So I'm just going to throw them down because there's no rhyme or reason. We want different shapes. We want some small ones. Let's have some patterned ones. Some numbers. So it's good to have a variety. Now, most of these are digital downloads that I've purchased and cut out. So when you purchase a digital download, you can then print it as many times as you like. So if it's got something in it that you really like and you think, oh, if I use that, I won't have it, then you just reprint it. So just pulling out some different style ones here. Let's get some red Red always looks good. And you can see by just even throwing it down like that, you're getting a bit of a collage-y effect. So when you actually go to stick them down, don't be too pedantic. Now I know I've got some blue as well, so let's get some blue in there. And you want different sizes too. So you want small, big, large, rectangle. Some numbers. I'll just pop them in the middle. And we want some green as well. So I've got some stamped images here from the Stampers Anonymous stamp set file notes. All right, so let's get some green happening. And I just want a couple of more round ones. Okay, so let's have a look at that first. So let's just start gluing them down. And I'm not trying to match the left side to the right side. All I did was just to get an even distribution of colour. When I was in each colour, I was throwing them down on both sides. Now I think I'm going to use my glue stick for this, but you can certainly use your art glitter glue. My glue stick's on the table, so I'll start with that one. So I'm just going to throw some down, and they'll be overlapping as well. I will trim the edges later because I want to keep the straight edges. Because we're tucking something underneath, then we don't want anything unfolding or lifting. Just do the whole background of this, and like I said, we may end up covering our beautiful work that we've done underneath, but we knew that that was a possibility as well. Or you could have left them plain, you don't have to collage on them at all. Don't be afraid to overlap some things like that because we want it different. And you can leave some background showing through. You can go different ways. I think collaging is one of the most rewarding things. They're a little artwork all in themselves, really. So I need some red down here. If you don't have labels like this, and you know, stamp some images and cut them out in different colors. You might do a stamp collage if you've got some vintage stamps. And we might place a couple of numbers on here as well. I actually like that one the way it is. I want to leave a bit of background like that. And I'm just going to pop that one off to the side. Let's have a look at this one over here. Just going to put some of the bigger ones on to start with. I think the majority of these ones were a Tracy Fox, and her Etsy shop is Love Junk Journals. So check it out, guys. There are multiple choices there. And like I said, once you've purchased them, you can print them as many times as you like. So, you know, when you do projects like this, you're not wasting them. Like when you buy a packet of ephemera that are expensive, the Tim Holtz ones are great, but you know, it's a bit of an outlay, and if you can only use it once, then you sort of balk, and I think it interferes with your creativity when you've got to think twice about, do you want to use something or not? And we certainly don't want to do that when we're playing in our journals or our junk journals. We want just a free license to throw it down and see how it turns out. Now you'll notice I'm not inking any of these either. I didn't want to make it too grungy. I actually like the crisp edges, and I've done a pretty okay job with cutting these out. I haven't left too many stark white edges on them. My mat's getting a bit sticky. I'll have to get a wet towel and fix it up. So I think I need some circles. Like I said, don't be afraid of layering things over the top of one another. It's more about the color placing at the moment. I'm looking at with these smaller ones. And sort of balancing it a little bit. You can sort of see there's a bit of a 3 theme in there, which is what we're sort of trained in card making in that. So you got blue 1 2 3, you got red 1 2 3, green 1 2, and maybe something down the bottom there. Got a bit of a space there, even though it's a label, so I'm just going to put a little number in there just to take that starkness. And I like these patches of background in there, so I'm going to call that one done as well. And then I'm going to trim them off so that I didn't go over the edge too much in these. I was fairly careful, but you know, sometimes when you're placing, it might hang out that much and you've just got to trim it off. But all we do is turn it over, and as you can see, there's really not much there for me to trim off. And of course, you don't have to trim them off. If you wanted lots of them hanging over for that effect, then you could leave them as is. Lovely. So I'm just going to wipe that mat before I bring my journal back over. The journal's covered in this beautiful fibrous handmade paper, and I'd certainly, if it's stuck there, it would pull it and tear it. So I'm just going to get a baby wipe / wet one, or moist cloth. A lot of people call them a lot of different things. Give it a couple of wipes, because the first with glue is usually you get the bulk of it off and then there's a sticky layer left, and you usually need to go over it with a fresh towel. Lovely. Okay, so if we bring our journal back in, so we're going to adhere it now down the side. So have a think about which one you want on which side. I actually like that one there. It's, which, you know, originally was my left one anyway, but it's got a bit more of a heading type of effect to it. And because when we open our journal, that's going to be the main one we see, because this one's going to be folded over here until we fold it that way. So while this one's got writing on the top too, that one has more of a heading type placement of them. So now I'm going to glue that down to the page. So we only want to glue 3 sides because it is a tuck. So rule of thumb, I always put my thumb on the side I don't want to glue, because you know, when we're doing these videos for you guys, sometimes when you're talking, thinking, gluing, you can forget what you're doing and end up gluing the sides that you don't want glued. So just a thin bead of glue down the edges, and I'm using the art glitter glue. I like this one. It adheres a lot of things, and you know, we're working with this nice fine metal tip, and this one's well used, as you can see by the label. I just refill it. And then I want to take this right to the edge of the page. It's also a good way to reinforce your pages too. Right to the edge. Sometimes you've got to pick it up and smush it across. And then we're going to do our other side. So turn it over, and this is the side we don't want to glue. And we want to push it right over to the edge of the page. Lovely. So then we end up with these beautiful tucks that I will make notebooks to go in. But you know, that's a journal. I haven't done anything with that one yet, but that's a blank journaling card. At the very least, you could tuck that in there. You could put a couple in there. I've got these notebooks started. I've only stapled together the coffee dyed paper, and I will put a top on there that can go in there. Like I can make some that's longer. You know, we can do, you know, a whole, like a flip journal card. So this one, bigger, double-sided, you know, just to add that extra journaling space in our journals. It also makes it interactive. You could put a large tag in there with journaling space on the back, etc. So what I might do is let's do a little bit of collaging on the front here as well. So we don't want to take it away from the labels that we've used. It'd be quite easy to go, oh, let's label collage that, but I don't want to. I want to make this a little bit of an artwork by itself as well. So just going to get some scrap paper that I just have lying on my desk from another project, which I haven't tidied up yet. Just got to, when you've got writing, you've got to work out which way is up. So that way, and you can definitely, that's got a straight edge, which is perfect, but you can definitely cut it off, because the other side, it had a Kaisercraft sticker on there, and I've put some book page on there. I will trim that off because I want to keep straight lines, because we've kept the straight lines here. So we can bring a label in like that, which that one fits fairly perfectly. It may need just a slight bit trimmed off the top. And I want it to go the top rather than the bottom, because that way it still keeps roughly a frame top and bottom. So just a little bit off the bottom, which is just the white space anyway. Love it. You can even keep that as a little bit of a pocket too, which we may do that as well. I'm going to ink around that one. Because once you stick them down, you can't ink them. And let me have a look. What else have we got? So I've got some sort of bigger type labels that we can put on here. That one looks good. And we just want something to cover that up there. What have we got? These are digital downloads as well, guys. I've printed out a heap and cut them up. So I had a session in front of the TV. So jump on Etsy and, you know, type in vintage ephemera or ephemera. See what you come up with. They're not expensive to purchase. They're usually around, you know, your $3, $4 and $5 mark. But once you've purchased them, you can print them as many times as you like. And I love having stuff already printed and cut like that in a container that I can just grab a piece that I know, because I don't want the background to stand out here. But I want it collaged, and then we're going to you keep that one as a tuck, and I may even put a paper doll on there, given that that's the theme of the journal. So I'm just going to park that one off to the side. I'm just going to ink these ones before I glue them down. I love these labels because you've got journaling space there as well. Sometimes creating is trial and error, but in order to do that, you need stuff to be able to place down and have a look at. So it's good to just have some different things on hand. And if you don't have anything like this and you don't have the money to buy it, because, you know, some things can be expensive, get your stamps out that you haven't used in a while. You know, use different inks and stamp out, you know, a lot of little different tickets or ephemera that way. Make your own and then collage with them. Like, I've printed all of these on a 210 GSM cardstock, but you can print on paper and then glue it to a cardstock. It just depends on the tolerance of your printer. But this is still thin enough that it doesn't add bulk, and thick enough for your ephemera to have a little bit of body. So if we have a look, this is just an envelope, just to show you, we can tuck something in there. You know, I may use the envelope, and then once again, inside the envelope, we can have a journal card. So we have multiple surfaces that we can write on. Now I'm going to get a little paper doll for here. I don't want an overly big one. Because I want to highlight some of that. I do like that one. Okay, so let's glue that down. So you can see how things just come together. That there I don't want to leave stark like that, so I definitely want to distress the edge. And then I'm just wondering if I've got a ticket or some ephemera similar size that I can just stick on the front. I can put a card in that later, but let me just have another look in here, see what we can come up with. We might just even do another one of those on there, which is perfect. Let me have a look. I like both. I think I will go with that though, because extra journaling space. Or why don't I do this? Why don't I put that one on there, and then this one can go inside there for extra journaling space. That way we're killing two birds with the one stone. I'm grunging the back because the back, we can journal on the back and the front of that. And like I said, it makes your journals very interactive. You can put your thoughts in here that if someone was flipping through your journal that you don't necessarily want them to see, then, you know, your more sensitive or secret thoughts are tucked inside all these little extra places. So this one's got like a tag shape, and I really want to cut that off, and I know it's going to create more of an area around the outside. Which is okay because we can see what I mean? So a bit more of a border, which is okay. I'm going to just darken. I was going to do some stenciling, but I think I'll just darken the ink up round there. That'll blend it in, and you won't have such a stark cream around the picture. Okay, I like it that way. It could go either way that way. I was sort of thinking, well, what am I going to have hanging out? But there's a fair bit hanging out, whichever way you go. Yep, I'm going to go that way. And while the glue's wet, just tease it into place like that. Lovely, and you can see that that's all nice and flat. So we've added, you can even journal on the back of this, but inside there's a journaling card, there's another journaling card there, and the thickness is just flat. I mean, we could go on, which, you know, I'm going to continue on to do that, but I think we'll call it a day with the video for you guys. We're certainly mindful not to make them too long, but definitely get all your labels out, and if you don't have them, stamp yourself out some, you know, get some words or something out of a magazine and create these beautiful page tucks in your journal. It also helps strengthen the page. So if you're working on just a paper, that's just copy paper, which I've printed stuff on the back, will definitely give it some extra strength. Now, background textures, big fan of them, because, you know, we can journal on all this beautiful space here. It won't go, certainly won't go to waste. But thanks guys, I hope you really enjoyed that and got some great ideas out of it. I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Thanks guys, bye.